A group of people once laughed behind your back, but now they whisper your name in fear. Archangel Michael says. They once gathered in corners, sharing jokes and cruel words behind your back, not knowing the winds of destiny would shift. What they thought was weakness in you was the seed of something mighty. And now, the same voices that once laughed are trembling, speaking your name in hushed fear. Your name used to be a punchline to their arrogance. But they did not know the fire you carried inside would one day rise. What was whispered as mockery is now spoken with caution, their eyes scanning for consequences. The group that once mocked your silence now fears your presence. Every step you take echoes louder than any insult they ever threw. They feel you before they see you, because your power walks ahead of you like a storm. Someone among them tried to warn the others, but pride blocked their ears. Now their dreams are haunted, not by demons, but by the truth that you were chosen all along. Their fear is not of you, but of the judgment coming through you. Type Amen to get blessing 333. Archangel Michael says. One woman from that group regrets it deeply. Her heart sinks every time she hears your name. Her hands shake when she recalls how easily they all dismissed your worth. This same woman is now visiting spiritual places, seeking answers, asking how to undo what was done. But energy once thrown into the universe returns with multiplied weight. They laughed for moments, but you rise for eternity. Their jealousy is what birthed their cruelty. But your grace birthed transformation. You took every scar they tried to give you and turned it into armor. They say your name now in hopes you won't look in their direction. They fear your power, not because you hurt them, but because you didn't. And that silence is what broke them from within. Type Amen to get blessing 494. One of them has been watching your online presence in secret. They no longer scroll with arrogance, but with anxiety. They wonder how you still glow when they tried to dim your light. You see, when divine timing steps in, everything hidden gets exposed. The same screenshots they once shared to mock you are now being deleted in panic. They never imagined they'd one day pray to be forgiven by you. But it's not just about apology, it's about the fear of your elevation. They whispered that you'd never make it, but now they whisper about how far you've come. And every whisper burns their tongue with shame. Type Amen to get blessing 121. One of the men who led the laughter now faces a chain of losses. His career started to crack, his relationships began to sour. He can't trace it back to you, but spiritually, he knows. He knows the moment he turned your name into a joke, he cursed his own path. He touched something sacred when he mocked your resilience. And now that energy has returned full circle. He walks into rooms now expecting betrayal. Paranoia clings to him because he planted seeds of doubt and cruelty. What he gave you has become his companion, and no amount of bravado can shield him from it. Type Amen to get blessing 606. Archangel Michael says. Your presence now is no longer a threat, they see it as a prophecy unfolding. You represent what they denied in themselves. You remind them of what it means to rise without vengeance, but with silent authority. There's a video they recorded once to mock you. Now it stays buried deep in someone's gallery, locked and never shown. Because it's no longer funny, it's terrifying how wrong they were. They pretend not to care, but your name stings when said aloud. One of them dreams of calling you, just to say, I'm sorry, but knows they can't handle the weight of your truth. Fear isn't in your hands, it's in their memory of what they did. Type Amen to get blessing 888. You don't need revenge. Their lives are already echoing the consequences of your silence. Their unity, once rooted in mocking you, has fractured. They now mistrust each other, knowing how quickly cruelty can turn inward. The same circle is broken now. Gossip became exposure. Their secrets fell like dominoes after they started with yours. You walk in divine protection, while they stumble through fear. They know you've tapped into something higher. And that's why they now whisper, not just your name, but your purpose. Type Amen to get blessing 747. Someone's health has even started to decline. Energy doesn't lie. The heaviness they once projected onto you has reversed course. The most confident among them is the one who breaks down the most. They envy the peace that surrounds you. They don't understand it, but they feel it, and they fear it. They now see you're not just a survivor, you're a spiritual force. Every door they tried to close for you only became a wall you learned to climb. And from up there, you see their masks falling off, one by one. Type Amen to get blessing 223. One of them saw you recently, maybe in passing or in a dream. They stopped in their tracks. They couldn't speak. It wasn't your appearance that shocked them, it was your aura. Something about your energy made them realize this wasn't the same person they used to mock. You've become untouchable in the most divine way. And in that moment, they knew, they laughed at a person who was chosen. The fear now is not that you'll hurt them, but that God heard every word they said behind closed doors. Type Amen to get blessing 311. Archangel Michael says, the table has turned not by luck, but by your faith and unseen labor. You kept going when the road was empty, when their words tried to carve scars into your mind. You held on, and now you're being lifted. There's a man who used to mock your ideas, your lifestyle, your voice. He now imitates them without credit. He pretends it was always his, but deep down, he knows who sparked the light. He watches you through fake accounts. His silence is no longer comfortable, it's filled with fear. Fear that one day, you'll rise so far above, he'll become invisible to the same crowd he once entertained with your pain. Type Amen to get blessing 333. They thought you were just another person trying. They didn't realize you were divinely planted. Your growth wasn't noise, it was roots deepening while they laughed at your stillness. One woman among them recently tried to reach out. Not for apology, but for access. She senses your glow and wants to stand close, hoping it will cover her shadows too. But energy doesn't lie. Your soul knows who was real and who was performance. And now they whisper not to reconnect, but to survive your absence. Type Amen to get blessing 939. Their laughter was loud then. But your presence now is louder in their hearts. It's not about volume, it's about vibration. And yours is shaking their foundation. Some are in therapy now, untangling why they treated you like that. Others bury it, pretending they were never part of it. But the truth knows every name, every chuckle, every lie. You no longer need to expose them. Life has taken that role. What they did in darkness is now lit in their own minds, repeating in dreams, in regrets, in sudden moments of panic. Type Amen to get blessing 515. Archangel Michael says, The most powerful revenge is evolution. And you have done that, silently, beautifully, unshaken. The fear they carry now is not of punishment, but of realization. They remember the day they laughed. And they will never forget the day they saw you bloom. The two memories live side by side, and haunt them. A few even try to rewrite the past, painting themselves as someone who always supported you. But truth doesn't bend for comfort. And your soul remembers clearly. Type Amen to get blessing 666. Someone is still watching you from the sidelines. They hold back because shame is stronger than courage in their heart. Their fear is that you'll become even greater, and they'll be forever a page in your story. They once laughed behind your back. But now, they walk carefully when your name is mentioned. Because the universe is watching, and they know it. Every achievement you gain now brings silence to their world. It's not envy anymore, it's reckoning. They know they messed with someone chosen. Type Amen to get blessing 212. Their voices are quieter now. Not because they've grown, but because they've seen what happens when energy returns. They thought you were done, but now you're just getting started. Their fear is not only about what you've become. It's about what they've lost by choosing the wrong side. They see others honoring you, and they know they had the chance to, but chose mockery instead. They think you're holding a grudge. But you're not. You're holding grace. And that is far more terrifying to them. Type Amen to get blessing 717. You're no longer the version of you that stood there quietly, listening to the laughter. You've become the symbol of divine reversal. What was once small has become mighty. A group that once laughed behind your back has split. Their unity depended on your downfall. Now, without that anchor, they drift apart, lost and afraid. The whisper of your name used to be a punchline. Now it's a prophecy. And they whisper it hoping they'll be forgotten before your full rise becomes undeniable. Type Amen to get blessing 444. You are walking proof that karma does not rush, but it never forgets. What they whispered in cruelty is now being whispered in fear. And what they laughed at has become something sacred. This is your moment. Not for revenge, but for realization. You no longer walk among those who once saw you as less. Archangel Michael says, they feared you'd never rise. Now they fear how far you'll go. And that fear is the echo of every insult they ever threw. Their whisper is not power. Yours is. Because you carry peace they can't understand, and light they can't escape. Type Amen to get blessing 1001. One of them tried to make it look like they were never part of the laughter. But energy speaks louder than denial. The same silence they use now is the silence they once demanded from you. And that silence now tastes different, it's bitter, filled with guilt. They know the truth, even if they never speak it. Your growth holds a mirror to everything they pretended to be. Another woman from that group has been secretly crying. Not because of you, but because of the shame that won't let her rest. She hears your name and it triggers a storm inside her heart. Type Amen to get blessing 1007. Someone who used to say, they'll never make it, now repeats, I always believed in them. But truth doesn't wear disguise. The energy is marked, and the universe never forgets. Your strength has become a quiet thunder in their life. They feel it in moments of stillness, when they scroll, when they dream, when they look in the mirror. Your image returns, not as a victim, but as a force. One of them tried to rebuild their life without facing the truth. But that truth follows them. It whispers in their ear at night and shivers down their spine when they see your name in a success post. You did not curse them. You did not wish them harm. But their own actions returned home with more weight than they ever imagined. Type Amen to get blessing 303. Archangel Michael says, your victory wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving yourself right. You knew your worth even when they didn't. That inner knowing, that sacred fire, has now lit your path so brightly, they can't deny your rise. And now, they stand behind shadows, hoping you never shine your light in their direction. But your light was never for revenge, it was for awakening. You carry a vibration now that shakes the guilt in others' hearts without you having to say a single word. One of the men who laughed the loudest now avoids any place he might see you. His shame is not just emotional, it's physical. He feels uneasy, nauseous even, when your name is brought up. Type Amen to get blessing 822. You never retaliated. And that's what unsettles them the most. They expected a war, and instead you rose in silence, and won a kingdom they never saw coming. They see people praising you now, and it burns. Because they were the ones who said you'd fail. Now they fear being seen as the liars they were. And some of them, they've become copies of what you are. Mimicking your words. Copying your style. Repeating the wisdom you once shared, but this time with trembling lips. They feared your power in the beginning. Now they fear your peace. Type Amen to get blessing 117. One of them recently had a breakdown. Not from trauma, but from awakening. They finally realized they mocked someone who carried the very light they needed. And in that breakdown, they whispered your name, not in mockery, but in hope that somehow the energy could be reversed. But some echoes don't fade. Your name now is like thunder in their bones. It shakes the part of them they tried to hide with laughter and gossip. You represent everything they tried to kill inside themselves. You now shine not because of them, but despite them. And that is a force they can't escape. Type Amen to get blessing 951. They scroll past your image fast, but not fast enough to stop the wave of memory. One photo of you is enough to silence an entire room now. You've become living proof of divine reversal. Some have tried to change their circle. They think if they remove themselves from the past, the karma will forget. But energy doesn't vanish, it echoes through every step. You are the quiet they fear. You are the success that haunts their failures. You are the mirror that shows them what they abandoned in themselves. And though they act like they don't care, their actions betray them. Every late-night search, every deleted post, every blocked account, screams the same message: we messed with the wrong soul. Type Amen to get blessing 619. Archangel Michael says, you were never alone, not even during the mockery. Every tear you swallowed in silence became a prayer heard in the spirit world. And now the answer has arrived: your rise. Their group chat, once filled with jokes at your expense, is now a graveyard of guilt. Messages deleted. Photos buried. But the memory remains, etched deep in their conscience. Someone among them has started journaling, trying to process why they ever treated you like that. They think healing will come easy. But healing begins when truth is faced, and they're not ready. You've stepped into a timeline now where their opinions don't reach. And that's what truly breaks them. Type Amen to get blessing 888. They once laughed behind your back. Now, every room you walk into changes energy. Conversations pause. Eyes follow. And whispers spread. But this time, they're not whispers of mockery. They're whispers of awe and fear. Because the person they joked about is now someone they can't look in the eye. Their attempts to paint you as weak now look foolish. Their schemes to undermine you only revealed their own shadows. You've become something untouchable. They once laughed when you were down. Now they fear you because you're flying, and they don't know how high you'll go. Type Amen to get blessing 414. You are the storm they never saw coming. The blessing they tried to block. The voice they once silenced now speaks louder without ever yelling. They fear being exposed. But more than that, they fear being remembered as the villain in your story. And that's exactly how the universe has recorded it. You don't even speak their names, but your presence makes them relive their own actions. That's the weight of truth. That's the power of divine timing. Your silence has spoken. Your elevation has answered every laugh they once let out. Type Amen to get blessing 500. Someone is rehearsing their apology. But they know it might never come out. Because fear wraps around their words like chains. And even if they did apologize, they know it wouldn't undo the spiritual shift. Your energy has moved on. You no longer orbit the memory of their mockery. The fear they carry now is not of punishment, but of being irrelevant in the story they tried to control. You are now the narrative. And they are just a footnote. Their laughter was loud. But your presence now is thunder. Type Amen to get blessing 1003. This is your time. This is your era. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove that grace always wins. They gather now, not to joke, but to reflect. Their energy is heavy. Their spirits unsettled. Because your name has become a force they can't unfeel. They once made you the center of gossip. Now you are the center of transformation. And whether they like it or not, your journey has become their mirror. The whispers will continue. But now they carry fear, awe, and respect. Because your name, once a target, is now sacred. Type Amen to get blessing 777. They never expected you to rise like this. Quiet, steady, and out of their reach. Their fear now is not that you'll retaliate, but that you'll outgrow even their memory. You have. You've stepped into a vibration that doesn't recognize their version of you. The old you died the day they laughed, and what lives now walks in purpose and power. Some of them tried rituals, energy-blocking prayers, even manipulative pity. But none of it could stop the force that had already begun moving around you. Your name is protected in realms they cannot touch. Type Amen to get blessing 1010. Archangel Michael says, your ancestors have stood guard. That's why no weapon formed in gossip ever broke you. That's why the lies they weave turned into truths about themselves. They hear about your next move through others, and it shakes them. They watch silently, hearts pounding, because now it's no longer entertainment, it's consequence. And they feel it creeping in. You've reached a space where your glow has become a warning. A signal to every soul who once mishandled you. Your spirit speaks before you do. They used to meet to mock you. Now they avoid meeting at all, because the guilt has divided them. Type Amen to get blessing 636. One of them is dealing with a heavy loss right now. Something precious is slipping through their fingers. And in the quiet, they're starting to wonder if it's all connected. They don't speak your name out loud anymore. Not out of shame, but out of superstition. They believe your energy is now too powerful to toy with. Even those who never joined the mockery are afraid now. Afraid they didn't defend you. Afraid the silence they chose then will become the shame they carry forever. Your forgiveness would free them, but they know they never earned it. Type Amen to get blessing 484. They remember your tears. And the way you wiped them without asking anyone for help. That memory haunts them. Because it's easy to laugh when someone is down. But terrifying to watch that same person rise above everything you threw at them. One of them prays you never mention their name publicly. They live in fear of exposure, not because you speak, but because your light makes everything else visible. You were the one they buried. And now, you're the seed that broke through every layer of darkness they covered you in. Type Amen to get blessing 222. They scroll past your photos now slower than before. They analyze your smile, trying to see if it carries any trace of them. It doesn't. You've moved so far beyond what they understand, it unsettles them. Your joy, your silence, your freedom, it all speaks volumes louder than any insult they once whispered. They never thought the one they humiliated would become the one others now honor. But that's the magic of divine reversal. You didn't just survive their cruelty, you transformed it into power. Type Amen to get blessing 171. They laugh less now. Smile less. Celebrate less. Because everything reminds them of how they underestimated you. Even the ones who weren't directly involved feel uncomfortable in your presence now. Because they remember how they watched and said nothing. They carry that silence like a wound. A deep echo of the moment they chose the crowd over courage. And now the crowd is gone. Only guilt remains. Type Amen to get blessing 505. You weren't supposed to win. According to their plan, you were supposed to stay broken. You were supposed to be the one who never made it out. But here you are. Unshaken. Unapologetic. Unstoppable. And that alone is your victory. They whisper now not because they care, but because they fear what the universe might reveal next. Every word they said carries weight now. And it's pulling them under. Type Amen to get blessing 1222. Archangel Michael says. The shift has already happened. The timeline has turned. You are no longer available for mockery, only for honor. Those who laughed behind your back are now warning others, don't mess with them. They're different. That difference? It's your divine protection. Even your silence is louder than their schemes now. One post. One look. One move, and it sends waves through people who once ignored you. You're no longer an underdog. You're the storm that humbled the arrogant. Type Amen to get blessing 3030.